Have you ever wondered what truly matters after the age of 61? As we get older, there's a unique opportunity to shed the weight of things that no longer serve us, whether it's worrying about other people's opinions, holding on to unnecessary possessions, or maintaining toxic relationships. But how can we truly embrace this freedom and live more lightly, more joyfully? In this video, we're going to explore the 9 essential things you no longer need to carry around after turning 61. Imagine the freedom of letting go of expectations, obligations, and goals that no longer align with your true happiness. By the end of this video, you'll discover not only how to declutter your life emotionally and physically, but also how to finally prioritize your happiness, without guilt. Watch until the end as we guide you through these powerful realizations, and you'll learn how to embrace a more fulfilling, lighter, and joyful life. If you're ready to break free from the unnecessary and reconnect with what truly matters, this is a journey you won't want to miss. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. Excessive preoccupation with other people's opinions. As we journey through life, there comes a profound moment of realization, a point when we understand that carrying the weight of other people's opinions is simply too exhausting, too draining for our souls. In our younger years, we chase approval, eager to fit in, and to be accepted by the world around us. We shape ourselves to meet the expectations of others, hoping that their validation will fill the void within. But after the age of 61, something shifts. It's a beautiful, almost liberating moment when we realize that we no longer need to live by anyone else's standards. We finally know who we are and what truly brings us joy. And suddenly, the opinions of others become like background noise, distant, irrelevant, and unimportant. Life teaches us that each person sees the world through their lens, colored by their own experiences, insecurities, and desires. It's simply impossible to please everyone, and trying to do so only leads to losing touch with ourselves. Can you imagine how much of your precious life is wasted when you try to fit into a mold that isn't even yours? We bend, we break, we suppress our happiness, all for the fleeting approval of others. But once we reach a certain stage, when we've lived, loved, lost, and learned, we understand that this way of living is not just unsustainable, it's also unfulfilling. True freedom, the kind that makes your heart feel light and your spirit soars, comes from within. It arrives the moment you stop seeking validation from the outside world and start embracing your authenticity. You begin to live not according to what others expect, but according to what you believe, what you feel in the deepest corners of your soul. Who, if not you, knows what brings peace and fulfillment into your life? At this stage, there's no more room for shaping yourself into someone else's version of who you should be. Let them think what they want. The beauty of this realization is that it allows you to step into your power. No longer shackled by the fear of judgment, you permit yourself to be unapologetically you. There's a deep and unwavering peace that comes when you are in harmony with your own choices, knowing that you're living in alignment with your values and principles. This, my dear, is the greatest victory, the kind that doesn't require a round of applause from anyone else. The only approval you ever needed was your own. From the moment we let go of the fear of being misunderstood, something magical happens. Life becomes lighter, fuller, and infinitely more joyful. Yes, people will continue to have their opinions. After all, that's human nature. But their judgments no longer carry the power to wound or derail you. You release the fear of criticism because you now understand that the only person you owe anything to is yourself. This freedom, this ability to live without guilt, without apology, is perhaps the most precious gift we can offer ourselves in this stage of life. It's not just freedom from others' opinions. It's the freedom to finally live the life you were always meant to live, in a way that brings you nothing but peace and joy. 2. Accumulation of objects and material goods. As the years pass, something profound happens. We begin to understand that happiness cannot be found in the endless accumulation of material things. How often do we cling to objects that no longer serve a purpose in our lives, yet continue to occupy precious space in our homes and, more importantly, in our hearts? It's as if every item carries a fragment of our past, a memory, a moment we can't seem to let go of. But holding on to these things only weighs us down. It's difficult to admit, but letting go of what no longer serves us is one of the most freeing acts of self-care we can give ourselves. When we create space, we invite something new, something meaningful, something that truly enriches our lives. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. We don't need much to live well. Sometimes less is so much more. This less carries a sense of peace that's hard to explain but can be deeply felt. It's a peace that comes from not being overwhelmed by clutter or unnecessary possessions. There's an indescribable joy in simplicity, in living lightly, in focusing on what truly matters instead of the things that merely fill up space. Starting to let go of what no longer makes sense isn't just a practical task. It's an act of courage and deep self-love. It requires us to look honestly at all that we've accumulated over the years and ask ourselves difficult questions. Does this still bring me joy? Does it still hold meaning or purpose in my life? More often than not, the answer is no. And when we find the strength to release those things, something miraculous happens. Our homes become less cluttered, yes, but so do our min and ds, our hearts. There's less to maintain, less to clean, less to stress over. Suddenly, the focus shifts from the material to the intangible, to the memories, the moments, the experiences shared with those we love. We realize that the most valuable things in life aren't things at all. By releasing what is no longer necessary, we learn to treasure what is essential. It's not about what we possess, but about who we are and how we choose to live. In this simplicity, we discover a life that brings far more tranquility and contentment than any material object ever could. The weight of possessions fades, replaced by the richness of meaningful connections and authentic experiences. When we let go of our attachment to material things, we also embrace a kind of freedom, a lightness that allows us to move through life more freely and more joyfully. It's as though we're shedding layers of unnecessary weight, finally able to walk with ease, no longer burdened by excess. Life, after all, isn't measured by how much we accumulate, but by how deeply we live and appreciate each moment. In the end, letting go isn't just an act of decluttering. It's a way of reclaiming our time, our space, and our peace. It's an exercise in lightness, in learning to carry less so we can live more. And with each item we release, we give ourselves the gift of more freedom. Freedom to focus on what truly matters. Freedom to live more fully, more authentically, more happily. 3. Unnecessary social obligations. Throughout so much of our lives, we feel an invisible pressure to say yes, to attend every event, accept every invitation, and engage in social situations that, in truth, bring us no real joy. How many times have we found ourselves begrudgingly dressing up for a gathering we didn't want to go to, simply because we feared being impolite? Or saying yes to an invitation out of sheer habit, even though deep down we knew we would feel uncomfortable and drained the entire time? We convince ourselves that it's the right thing to do and that being polite means sacrificing our comfort. But once we pass the age of 61, it's time to step back and ask ourselves, is it? Life is too precious, too fleeting, to waste on obligations that only deplete our energy and offer us nothing in return. At this stage of life, it becomes clear that we no longer owe anyone our presence simply out of obligation. We've earned the right to say no, to refuse the things that don't serve us, the gatherings that drain us, the obligations that steal our peace. And saying no doesn't make us rude or selfish, it makes us wise. We begin to realize that we don't need to justify our absence or explain ourselves to anyone. We no longer need to sacrifice our time, our energy, or our well-being to please others. It's time to permit yourself to step away from social pressures that don't align with your happiness. If something doesn't nourish your soul or make your heart feel lighter, you don't have to be there. Imagine the peace that comes from knowing you don't have to show up everywhere, from no longer forcing yourself to attend events out of fear of judgment. There is an incredible liberation in understanding that we only need to be where we feel truly valued, where our presence brings genuine joy, not out of obligation, but out of choice. By saying no to what doesn't serve us, we're saying yes to ourselves. We're choosing peace over politeness, well-being over obligation. This doesn't mean isolating ourselves or cutting off social connections entirely. It means being selective. It's about choosing where and with whom we want to spend our time, and making sure that every moment, every interaction, adds something meaningful to our lives. When we prioritize the gatherings that truly uplift us, the people who value us for who we are, we find that each event becomes more special. We show up fully present, body, mind, and heart, without the heavy burden of obligation. One of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is the freedom to decide how, and with whom, we spend our time. This is true freedom, a hard-earned privilege that should be enjoyed without guilt or apology. When we reclaim our time, we're reclaiming our happiness. The quality of our lives dramatically improves when we are no longer weighed down by unnecessary social commitments. At this stage, it's not about pleasing everyone. It's about living a life that pleases you. Prioritizing your joy, your peace, and your well-being is not only necessary, it's essential. So say no when you need to, and feel the weight lift from your shoulders. You've earned this freedom. 4. Exaggerated preoccupation with physical appearance. Throughout our lives, we are relentlessly bombarded with society's impossible standards of beauty and youth. We're made to feel that we must constantly fight against time, against the wrinkles, the gray hairs, the natural signs of aging, as if aging itself were something to be ashamed of. This pressure can become an overwhelming source of worry and insecurity. But as we grow older, something shifts within us, and after the age of 61, we come to a powerful realization. True beauty is not found in a flawless appearance, but in the richness of the stories our bodies tell. Every wrinkle, every mark, every feature etched into our faces is a testament to the lives we've lived, the experiences we've embraced, and the emotions we've felt deeply. To try and hide or erase these marks would be to deny the incredible journey that has brought us to where we are. Why should we feel pressured to erase the very evidence of our lives? We've lived through so much, and every line tells a story of laughter, of loss, of love, of growth. We no longer need to obsess over our physical appearance, and while it's still important to take care of our health, stay active, and feel good within ourselves, there's a difference between self-care and the futile pursuit of outdated beauty standards that no longer make sense to us. The most important thing is to feel comfortable in our skin, to embrace the body that has carried us through decades of life, with all its changes and transformations. These changes aren't flaws, they are the marks of a life well lived. Each wrinkle on our face reflects a moment of joy, a time of sadness, or a feeling of pure love. Each gray hair is a reminder of our wisdom, our reed silence, and our strength. The beauty of aging is in the authenticity of our stories, in the lightness that comes with no longer needing to prove anything to anyone. We've spent enough time trying to fit into molds that don't represent who we truly are. Now, we can finally live in the freedom of self-acceptance. Yes, we should take care of ourselves, but not out of fear of aging or trying to chase an unrealistic image of perfection. We do it out of love. Love for the body that has supported us through the highs and lows of life. We take care of ourselves with affection and respect for the person we've become, for the person we are today. And in doing so, we discover that acceptance is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Acceptance is liberating. It frees us from the endless chase of unattainable ideals and allows us to live in peace, in happiness, and in the fullness of who we truly are. There's nothing more beautiful than being able to say, "This is me, with all my stories, all my experiences, and all my imperfections." It is in this freedom, this lightness of being, that true beauty resides, the beauty of living without fear, without shame, without guilt, and with an open heart full of love for the person you've become. That is the kind of beauty that time can never take away. 5. Activities that don't bring satisfaction. How many times have we found ourselves caught in the cycle of doing things simply out of habit, or because we've convinced ourselves that it's just something that needs to be done? For years, we get trapped in routines that gradually lose their meaning, but we continue to go through the motions, as if on autopilot. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Repeating actions that no longer bring us joy, all while feeling disconnected from the things we do each day. But after the age of 61, we're gifted with a beautiful opportunity, a chance to step back and reevaluate these activities with fresh eyes, to ask ourselves the important questions. Does this still make me happy? Does it still fulfill me? If the answer is no, then perhaps it's time to let go of those tasks, routines, and commitments that no longer serve us. Life is too precious, too short, to spend time on things that don't bring a smile to our faces, that don't warm our hearts. We no longer need to exhaust ourselves with activities that drain our energy, bore us, or feel more like obligations than sources of joy. Why should we continue to hold on to routines that no longer make sense, just because they've become familiar? This is our time to rediscover what truly makes us feel alive, to seek out new passions, and to rekindle old interests that may have been set aside during the busy years. It's time to let go of the idea that life must follow a rigid path. No rulebook says we must continue doing things simply because we've always done them. Instead, we can look for what genuinely fills our hearts, what brings meaning and happiness into our lives. This might mean abandoning long-standing habits that no longer bring us joy, or saying no to activities that feel more like a chore than a source of fulfillment. Perhaps it means exploring new hobbies, learning something entirely different, or rediscovering the passions that once lit up our souls. This is a time for liberation, for permitting ourselves to step away from the mundane and towards what excites us, what fulfills us, and what brings a sense of purpose into our days. Maybe it's as simple as spending more time with loved ones, or maybe it's about indulging in activities that spark creativity and curiosity. Whether it's painting, gardening, traveling, or just enjoying quiet moments of reflection. The key is to fill our days with moments that matter, with actions that are done with intention, joy, and purpose. True satisfaction comes from living each moment with intention, doing what you love, what makes your heart sing, what brings you that quiet sense of contentment. And there's no better time for that than now. Why waste precious time on things that no longer bring us happiness? We deserve to wake up each morning excited about the day ahead, ready to embrace whatever it holds with enthusiasm and joy. Life at this stage is about finding what makes us feel truly alive and leaning into that with all our hearts. In the end, what matters is not how much we accomplish or how busy we are, but how much joy and fulfillment we find in the things we do. Whether it's in the small, quiet moments or the grand adventures, living with intention and pleasure is the ultimate reward. So let go of what no longer serves you, and make space for the things that do. You've earned it. 6. Negative, toxic relationships. Sometimes we become so accustomed to certain relationships that we don't even recognize the damage they're causing us. We invest years, sometimes decades, maintaining connections with people who, instead of lifting us, slowly chip away at our peace and drain our energy. It could be that friend who always seems to bring negativity into every conversation, or a family member whose constant criticism feels like a dagger to our self-worth. It's painful to admit, but some relationships don't add value to our lives. They take away from it. We are not obligated to carry the burden of these toxic ties, no matter how long they've lasted. And after the age of 61, we've earned the right to be more selective about the company we keep. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. Letting go of toxic relationships isn't selfish. It's an act of profound self-care. At this stage of life, what truly matters is surrounding ourselves with people who nurture us, who bring joy and peace into our lives, and who make us feel valued and loved for exactly who we are. We no longer have the patience or the time for people who only criticize, for those who bring nothing but problems, or for those who don't respect or understand us. We've spent enough time trying to please others, trying to maintain relationships out of obligation or the fear of disappointing someone. But now, it's about preserving our peace, our balance. Choosing to walk away from toxic relationships is an act of reclaiming our power. It's about realizing that we don't have to carry the weight of people who no longer serve us, people who only bring darkness into our lives. We deserve better than that. When we permit ourselves to let go of these harmful connections, we open up space for something beautiful. New people who truly care about us, who respect us, who see us for who we are, and who love us for it. These are the relationships that bring lightness, joy, and a sense of belonging. These are the people who deserve our time and energy. Life is far too short to waste on people who don't bring us any good. We've reached a stage where our well-being comes first, and that means surrounding ourselves with those who genuinely add value to our lives. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from knowing that every person you choose to spend time with supports you, loves you, and encourages you to be your best self. That's what makes all the difference. The quality of the people we share our lives with. We are no longer obligated to please everyone, to maintain relationships just for the sake of tradition or fear of upsetting someone. Now, it's about what feels right, what makes our hearts feel lighter. The rest, we can leave behind without guilt, without regret, with the certainty that in doing so, we are taking care of our most precious resource, ourselves. So, say goodbye to those who drain your energy, who make you feel small, who do not appreciate the beautiful soul that you are. Make room for the ones who walk beside you with love and respect, who bring joy and peace into your days. This is the life you deserve, surrounded by those who truly care and who remind you every day that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness. 7. Comparisons with other people's lives. One of the most common traps we fall into throughout life is the relentless temptation to compare our journey to that of others. From an early age, we are bombarded with societal expectations and ideals of success that make us question our own choices and our accomplishments. We look around, and it always seems like there's someone who has achieved more, someone who has more, or someone who appears to be living a life far better than ours. But as we grow older, especially after the age of 61, we start to realize that these comparisons are nothing more than a drain on our energy and our happiness. Everyone is walking their unique path, facing their battles, celebrating their joys, and mourning their sorrows. To compare ourselves to others is to deny the beauty of our journey. After a lifetime of experiences, we've learned that there is no one-size-fits-all formula for success or happiness. There is no singular right way to live. Constantly comparing ourselves to others does nothing but distance us from appreciating our worth and from recognizing the magnitude of our achievements. It blinds us to the unique and special moments that belong to us alone, the victories we've earned, the struggles we've endured, and the joys that are ours to cherish. Why should we diminish our own story by measuring it against someone else's? The truth is that success and happiness are deeply personal. What brings fulfillment to one person may mean little to another, and that's perfectly okay. Each of us is unique, with our own needs, desires, and dreams. Instead of trying to fit into someone else's version of a successful life, it's time to embrace the beauty of our individuality. Every choice we've made has led us down a path that is ours and ours alone, and each of those choices carries its value. By constantly comparing ourselves to others, we overlook the beauty of the road we've taken, forgetting that our path is just as meaningful, just as worthy, and just as beautiful as anyone else's. At this stage of life, it's time to let go of the habit of measuring ourselves against others. There's no need to look outward for validation. Instead, look inward with a sense of pride, affection, and respect for all that you have lived and all that you have built. Every wrinkle, every scar, every memory is a testament to the richness of your journey. Your story is yours alone, and it's time to celebrate that. When we stop comparing ourselves, we begin to appreciate the true richness of our lives. We see the beauty in our imperfections, the strength in our challenges, and the significance of our accomplishments. What matters most is not how our life measures up to someone else's, but how we feel about the path we've taken. It's time to recognize that our journey is just as valid, just as significant, and just as worthy of celebration as anyone else's. Comparison is the thief of joy, and when we release it, we open our hearts to the fullness of our own lives. We realize that there is no need to measure up to anyone but ourselves. We've lived, we've learned, we've grown, and that in itself is a success worth cherishing. So let's stop looking outward for approval and start embracing the richness of our own lives. Our journey is ours to honor, and that is more than enough. 8. Unattainable or irrelevant goals. Throughout life, we are taught to chase goals, set high expectations, and pursue dreams that, more often than not, weren't even truly ours. We might have been striving to meet societal expectations, to fulfill family desires, or perhaps to live up to the standards we set for ourselves during a time when we didn't fully know who we were or what we truly wanted. As the years pass, and especially after the age of 61, we come to a beautiful realization. Not every goal is essential, and not every dream is meant to be pursued forever. Some goals that once seemed important may now feel like unnecessary burdens, carried out of habit or sheer stubbornness. We continue to chase them, even though they no longer hold meaning or bring us any joy. Now is the time to take a step back, look at those goals through wiser eyes, and ask ourselves, is this still worth it? Does this still make my heart sing? There's no longer any reason to continue striving for something that no longer fuels our passion or adds value to our lives. And if some goals feel unattainable, or they no longer resonate with who we are today, there is no shame in letting them go. This isn't giving up, it's an act of wisdom, of knowing where to invest our precious energy, time, and love. So often, we cling to these outdated ambitions, not because they serve us anymore, but because we fear that letting them go might look like a failure. But real wisdom lies in knowing when it's time to pivot, when it's time to change course, and when it's time to realign our goals with the person we are now, not the person we once were. By holding on to these irrelevant or unattainable goals, we only invite frustration and disappointment into our lives, making us feel as if we've somehow failed. But the truth is, there is no failure in releasing something that no longer serves you. There is only freedom. At this stage in life, it's not about pursuing goals that seem grand on paper but hold no meaning in our hearts. Now, the focus is on setting goals that bring us genuine joy, that make our hearts beat faster, and that align with our current values and desires. It doesn't matter if those goals are big or small. What matters is that they bring fulfillment. Maybe it's as simple as spending more time with family, learning a new skill, or dedicating time to self-care. These goals may not be flashy, but they are meaningful, and they have a real purpose. What truly matters now isn't the pursuit of lofty, unattainable dreams. It's about living with intention, finding joy in the little things, and aligning our actions with our deepest values. It's about peace, harmony with our choices, and the contentment that comes from knowing we are living in a way that feels true to who we are. After all, life isn't measured by how much we achieve, but by how fully we live, and how much we enjoy each precious moment. The greatest goal we can set for ourselves now is not about chasing external achievements, but about cultivating inner peace, living in harmony with the life we've created, and cherishing each day for the gift it is. Letting go of what no longer matters opens up space for what truly does. 9. Blame for prioritizing your happiness. How many times have we pushed our own needs aside, prioritizing the happiness of others over our own? For so much of life, we've been taught to take care of those around us, to nurture, to support, to be there whenever we're needed. And yes, there is a deep beauty in this. It's an expression of love, generosity, and selflessness. But over time, we can lose ourselves in the process. We forget our dreams, desires, and happiness as if our joy somehow matters less than everyone else's. How often have we felt a pang of guilt simply for wanting something for ourselves? But after the age of 61, it's time to finally let go of that guilt, shed the weight of always putting others first, and allow ourselves the space to prioritize our happiness. Prioritizing your happiness is not selfish, it's necessary. It's an act of self-respect, an acknowledgement of everything you've already given, of everything you are. For years, we've poured our energy into others. We've worn many hats and played so many roles for the people we love. Now, the question arises, what about you? What truly makes you happy? What have you always wanted for yourself? It's time to answer those questions without hesitation, without fear of appearing selfish, and most importantly, without guilt. We cannot continue to give to others from a place of emptiness. To be truly present for those we love, we need to be fulfilled ourselves. We need to nourish our souls, to chase the joy that fills us up. Only then can we give to others from a place of abundance. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3BD268 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Letting go of guilt is liberation. It's the recognition that there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be happy, with wanting to do what's best for your well-being. This life is yours, and no one else can live it for you. No one else can feel what you feel, dream what you dream, or understand the deep yearnings of your heart. So if you don't prioritize your happiness, who will? It's time to think about yourself, without guilt, without fear, because your happiness matters. It's essential. This doesn't mean we stop caring for others. It means we find a balance. We can care for those we love and still take care of ourselves. We can pursue our joy and still be there for the people who matter to us. When we are happy and fulfilled, we are even better equipped to support others. We show up with more energy, more love, and more authenticity. Self-love is not selfish. It's the foundation for every other kind of love. By respecting our own needs, we honor our history, our dreams, and our unique journey. So, if there's something you've always wanted to do, a dream that's been buried deep inside, now is the time to bring it to life. If there's a desire, a passion, or a goal that you've pushed aside for far too long, it's time to reclaim it, without guilt, without apology. Because being happy, truly and unapologetically happy, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. And when you feel good, that light shines on everything and everyone around you. Let's leave the guilt behind. Let's live with more joy, with more freedom, and with more truth. This is the life you deserve now more than ever. You've given so much to others. Now it's time to give back to yourself. And when you do, you'll find that the world around you becomes a brighter, lighter, and more joyful place. As we reflect on these important lessons, it's clear that life after 61 is a time for embracing wisdom, prioritizing happiness, and letting go of the unnecessary burdens that have weighed us down for so long. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from this video that resonated with you? What's one thing you're going to take and put into practice in your life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We're eager to read your insights. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with others who might benefit from these lessons, and of course, subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us.